Hey folk, you found GSTV. That stands for Good Stuff Television. We celebrate entertainment from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. And the cool thing about GSTV, you never know what's coming up next.
Hello, I'm Lauren Tweeze. For the past 7 years, a lot has been written about me. But in the new issue of TV Guide, I speak for myself about what I experienced working on a television series, about the pressures and the insecurities. Sometimes it hurt to tell the truth about the past, but it sure helped me to be free of it.
Lauren Tweeze, as you've never known her before, exclusively in TV Guide.
Lauren Tweeze. In the late 70s and early 80s, she was a weekly visitor in my home. Saturday nights were all about the Aaron Spelling-created Love Boat and Fantasy Island TV shows. I loved everything about these shows, the multiple storylines, the amazing guest stars, and on the Love Boat, Ms. Tweeze was super cute as cruise director Julie McCoy. And she was part of a great cast. In addition to Lauren, there was the amazing, the wonderful Gavin MacLeod, and future politician Fred Grandy was great as well as lovable old golfer. He was kind of the show's Gilligan. Heck, they were all really talented, and there was a lot of chemistry between the cast members. Geez, I feel like I have to give a shout out to all of the guys on the show. Ted Lang, Bernie Koppel, and Jill Whalen. Nope, I can't leave any of them out. The Love Boat ran for 9 seasons. After that, there were some additional special episodes and even a sequel of sorts called Love Boat: The Next Wave. And through most of the seasons, Lauren, as cruise director Julie, was there to keep things sane and the storylines moving along. She was a very critical part of the show and, in my mind, kind of the breakout star. During the second season of the show, Lauren also took time out to film a TV movie, a very popular movie of the era called The Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders. As you might guess, as a young teenage boy, I was a very supportive fan. One of the highlights of Love Boat for me was when Aaron Spelling admitted that Love Boat and Charlie's Angels, well, they existed in a shared universe. Love Boat Angels was a great episode of Charlie's Angels that had Tweeze looking every bit as lovely as the angels who Mr. Townsend had sent to the Pacific Princess to crack another case. This wasn't, however, Lauren's first appearance on Charlie's Angels. She'd been on the 4th episode of the first season, an episode titled Angels in Chains, playing a character who was definitely not Julie McCoy. As the Love Boat grew in popularity, Lauren developed a cocaine habit that created problems on the show. At times, scenes would have to be refilmed with another cast member, or at the very least, delayed. Because of that, Lauren was dismissed from the show at the end of season 7. Ironically, Lauren had been working diligently to resolve her dependency on cocaine on her own, and was pretty much cleaned up by the time a new cruise director was found. But these were different times. Lauren did find work after Love Boat, and she made a return to the show during season 9. Some of the shows that she guest starred in were T.J. Hooker, Hotel, Hunter, and Murder, She Wrote. She also had another shot at a TV series, a sitcom this time, when she filmed a pilot with Vicki Lawrence called Anything for Love. You can find portions of this show on YouTube, and you know what? It's actually pretty darn good. It's too bad someone didn't give this show a shot. More recently, Lauren has made guest appearances on many shows talking about both the good and bad times associated with working on the Love Boat. She's very frank about the issues that she was grappling with at the time. But she also talks about how the entertainment industry has changed for the better. These days, actors and actresses are helped through their times of crisis instead of being given a pink slip by the producers. One thing that is also very clear is that Lauren remains close with her former castmates. The chemistry that existed way back then still runs strong even today. A few years back, Lauren was invited to celebrate her 60th birthday on the Pacific Princess. I think it's great that she still feels connected to the cruise line and is able to accept invitations such as this one. It would be easy to look back on the entire experience with a bit of regret, but by all accounts, that's not the way that Lauren feels about things. She takes things day by day and enjoys each one to its very fullest. And that, my friends, is what we all should be doing. One last pick. This time from the Love Boat Next Wave episode where the original show's cast visited their old stomping grounds. I don't think the revamped version of the show lasted long, but still it was always good to see Robert Urich get work, and both Lauren and Jill looked great for their guest appearance on the show. So, who was your favorite Love Boat cast member? Or guest star? Let me know in the comments section, and while you're at it, I would appreciate a thumbs up. And what the heck, why not subscribe to the channel? I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.
Hi, Mommy, I'm home.
Hi, honey, I'm sewing. I left milk and cookies on the table.
I wish I didn't have to eat alone.
You're not alone. I'm here.
You're the TV cow from Grant. Did you come to see me?
Yep, I enjoy visiting boys and girls who drink fresh, healthful milk from Grant's Dairy. Good milk, isn't it?
Is there someone with you, Christina?
Only the little cow from Grant.
I didn't know I left the TV on.
Hey folks, if you're enjoying this live stream, be like the Fawns and give it a thumbs up. Hey.
The original Battle of the Network Stars aired from 1976 to 1988. During the competitions, well-known actors and actresses would compete in events such as the swimming relay, tennis, a dunk tank, and the one that decided it all, the tug of war. Within these events, there were some really great moments, not the least of which was the dunk tank competition. If you think about it, this one is kind of silly and not really much of a sporting event at all. Still, I loved it for reasons that would have been obvious to any teenage boy. The year that both Heathers, Locklear, and Thomas were in the dunk tank together was huge. Where else would you get pop singer Debbie Boone, Joyce DeWitt, and from Battlestar Galactica, Maren Jensen together like this? And a shout out has to go to the late great Howard Cosell. I can't remember a time when Cosell didn't treat these entertainers with respect and dignity. When he interviewed Gabe Kaplan, he acted as if he were talking to Muhammad Ali or Bruce/Caitlyn Jenner.
Hey folks, you've found GSTV. That stands for Good Stuff Television. We celebrate entertainment from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. And the cool thing about GSTV, you never know what's coming up next.
I wake up in the morning and I'm thinking about waffles. They are always on my mind. Then I find your letter and you're saying that you're leaving. How can you be so unkind? I know that I am larger than I used to be, but I don't think that you understand why. 'Cause those evil yellow waffles got a hold of me. I gotta eat them until I die. Fried chicken and waffles are really good. I could eat them all day long. You gotta try them together before you judge. That's the reason I wrote this song. So I'm looking for someone who can understand me. I'm looking for a friend to help me cope. Someone to hook me up with my maple flavored vice. It's a long shot, but you gotta have hope. It's been a year since she walked out my doors, since she said we had different kinds of kicks. She was into fitness and stupid stuff like that. She thought my waffle habit was sick. Fried chicken and waffles are really good. I could eat them all day long. You gotta try them together before you judge. That's the reason I wrote this song. Fried chicken and waffles are really good. I could eat them all day long. You gotta try them together before you judge. That's the reason I wrote this song. And when I sleep, I still dream about her lying beside me, feeding me waffles. Fried chicken and waffles are really good. I I could eat them all day long. You gotta try them together before you judge. That's the reason I wrote this song. Fried chicken and waffles are really good. I could eat them all day long. You gotta try them together before you judge. That's the reason I wrote this song. Fried chicken and waffles are really good. I could eat them all day long. You gotta try them together before you judge. That's the reason I wrote this song.
Opie's back and Barney too.
10-4.
With Gomer and Goober and Thelma Lou.
Old friend.
It's so good to see you.
They're all back for all new laughs.
I want to thank you all for coming.
In America's favorite hometown.
How come we ain't laid eyes on you lately, Cheer? I've been out of town 20 years.
And they'll shoot the works when you return to Mayberry.
Right in the fast lane.
And now join the celebration in a world premiere Sunday night movie.
Outstanding.
Way back in the late 70s and early 80s, Lauren Tweeze, along with the rest of the cast of Aaron Spelling's The Love Boat, was part of my must-see TV on Saturday nights. I loved everything about the show. The cast was great. For 9 seasons, they held together multiple storylines and frequently interacted with some really wonderful guest stars. Lauren, as the cruise director, Julie McCoy was there to keep things sane and those storylines moving along. She was a very critical part of the show and, in my mind, kind of the breakout star during those early seasons. So with all that said, I bet you can't guess who her favorite guest star on the show was. If I already didn't know, I might go with someone like Charo or Tom Hanks or even Donny Osmond. But if I went with those answers, I'd be wrong. Because you see, this man was Lauren's favorite guest star. Yep, Mr. Vincent Price, the star of oh so many horror films from the 50s and 60s. Lauren, during a fairly recent interview, said that Vincent during his time on the show was smart, funny, and kind. 3 words you don't always hear these days when it comes to a description of a star of Vincent's caliber. In that interview, Lauren reminisced about Vincent's appearance on The Love Boat in an episode titled Ship of Ghouls. She reflected on the time that they spent together in between takes talking about art, food, and other topics that, well, Lauren just found them absolutely fascinating. You can find the entire interview right here on YouTube. I'll post a link to it at the end of this video just in case you're interested in hearing more. In the same interview, Lauren was also asked who her least favorite guest star was, and you know what? I've got to give kudos to Lauren because she would not answer that question. The interviewer pressed her to, without saying a name, just describe the guest star, and even then she declined. She said something like our world is so full of ugly stuff, she didn't want to add to that conversation. I was so impressed with that response, and Lauren, you are absolutely correct. In a world where every opinion is given a platform through the various social networks, there's no need to add fuel to that fire. Unless there's something positive. Or if not that, at least something that's productive to be said. So as long as we're talking about Lauren, here's a quick update. She remains close to her former castmates from the show. That chemistry that existed way back in the late 70s and early 80s, well, it still runs strong even today. And a few years back, before the Pacific Princess was mothballed, she was invited back to that ship to celebrate her 60th birthday. I think it's great that she still feels connected to the cruise line and is able to accept invitations such as this one. To sum things up, Lauren takes things day by day and enjoys each one to its fullest. And that, my friends, is what we should all be doing. Alright, now it's your turn. Please share your memories in the comments section, and while you're at it, I would appreciate a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And what the heck? Why not subscribe to the channel? I talk about music, movies, and mostly television from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, Thank you so much for watching.
Someone is trying to embarrass me.
I'm taking my family to Disney World on Easter. I won a trip in the Pepsi-Cola Magic of Walt Disney World sweepstakes. We're here 5 days on Pepsi. I sent Mom and Dad to play golf while I relax at the pool. Second prizes are Kodak cameras. Say cheese, Grandma. Cheese. Oh, wow.
Win one of 100 trips for 4 on Eastern Airlines in the Pepsi-Cola Magic of Walt Disney World sweepstakes. Details at participating stores.
Thanks, Pepsi.
Tuesday on Happy Days. Marion ends up in the slammer and everyone wants to help Springer, but the question is how?
I want to go home.
And on Angie. Will a convent be Marie's new home?
I'm in love with my sister's husband. Oy vey.
Then on Three's Company, it's bottoms up and a job for Jack.
Take off your clothes.
And on Taxi, Bobby quits acting and who'll stop Louie from telling all?
Tuesday starting at 8, 7 Central and Mountain on ABC.
Just one Certs keeps your mind off your mouth for an hour.
Getting close, there's nothing to it. All you gotta do is do it. Certs keeps your mind off your mouth for an hour.
Only Certs has Retsin. Certs gives you breath protection so long-lasting, it keeps your mind off your mouth for an hour.
Certs keeps your mind off your mouth for an hour.
Wednesday on 8 is Enough. The Bradford star in their first movie role, and Mary stars in her first love role.
I think I'm in love with him.
But her co-star is playing another part.
He's married.
Then, Charlie's Angels dance the night away at a wild party thrown by a crazed killer.
Look out!
He won't stop at anything short of murder. And on Vegas, someone's out to get private eyes.
2 dead detectives in one day.
And Vegas's favorite is next.
You can feel us coming now, a fresh look on the scene, with a whole new style of living, light and crisp and clean. That's why now we say the age of 7-Up is here, cause we love that crisp, refreshing taste, so light and crystal clear. Move it up, look it up, look it up. America is turning 7-Up, reach it up, feel it up, America is turning 7-Up.
Mort's back on Thursday.
It shocked the shazbot out of me.
And Mindy's got a new mom.
We were married yesterday.
But not everyone is head over heels for a new mother.
New stepmother.
What are the chances of my getting a baby brother?
Hey folks, you've found GSTV. That stands for Good Stuff Television. We celebrate entertainment from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. And the cool thing about GSTV, you never know what's coming up next. Are you a fan of the classic TV show The Love Boat? Here are 12 slightly obscured images of guest stars from that show. Can you guess them all? I don't know. There are a couple pretty tough ones in the mix. Alright, best of luck to you. You are going to need it. Now let's get going. How did you do? Don't forget to share your score in the comments section. And if you're up for the challenge, here's another fun trivia video for you to match your wits against. Thank you so much for playing, and regardless of your score, you are awesome. There are lots of reasons why I loved the Green Hornet growing up. Despite its relatively short run on television, the TV show with Bruce Lee as Kato and Van Williams as the Hornet was really well executed and so much fun to watch.
I loved the theme music, the Black Beauty, and all of the Green Hornet's other amazing gadgets like the Hornet Sting, which would unlock any door and render other devices useless. Of course, it didn't hurt that the Green Hornet came from the same folks that brought us this show. That said, I'm glad that William Dozier and team decided not to treat the Green Hornet in the same campy way that they did Batman. I was such a fan of the show that my dad brought me this book home from a business trip, and I'm pretty sure he read it to me multiple times as I would try to fall asleep. Quick sidebar to give a shout out to the recent reunion of Green Hornet and Batman in comic book form. It's a pitch perfect callback to both of these great TV shows.
Anyone in the union? SAG? Equity? Union?
8:30 in the morning at an exclusive nightclub on the west side of New York. On this bitterly cold January day, these women, over 600 in all, are the first in line for a shot at the big time. This fall, the popular TV series The Love Boat will set sail with some new, very talented, and very beautiful members of the crew. They will be called the Love Boat Mermaids.
We're going to have 8 mermaids, and they're going to be girls that are doing each show a 2-minute dance segment, and also various spots that work in the casino and do several acting spots. So
Ted McGinley, one of the Love Boat stars, along with show producer Dennis Hammer and choreographer Don Crichton, are beginning a nationwide search. This day in New York, at least one of these women will get the chance of a lifetime.
It's a wonderful job for the ladies. It really is. It's an extremely well-paying job, and they could become, well known through it. Okay, let's just do that beginning again. Yeah, it's not one of those things. If we get a high kick, it's better. It's small. Here, 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 here. Okay,
everyone who has come to this open call is given a chance to show her talents. Experience in ballet, jazz, and tap is a must. And with 6 more cities to go and only 8 spots to fill, the choreographer is being very fair, but very picky.
Okay, would you step over there for me? All right, and thank you, ladies, the rest of you. Thank you.
From the original 600 hopefuls, 50 are asked to stay.
Thank you. All right, would you stay and you stay for me? Thank you, ladies. All right.
That number is quickly whittled down to 15.
Okay. Ladies, thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Then, as the theater lights begin to flicker on over Broadway, it has come down to just 6. At the end of a long and demanding day, one woman is about to be asked to fly to Los Angeles for the final audition.
All right, now the one that is going to get picked to go to California is Beth, for sure, okay?
I'm excited. I can't believe it. I don't know. I came here kind of on a fluke because it's not anything I really intended to come out and do, and it happened. I still can't believe it. I have to go.
But believe it or not, Beth's next stop is Los Angeles for another day of dancing alongside 22 other finalists and in front of an even tougher panel of judges, including executive producers Aaron Spelling and Douglas Kramer and dance legends Sid Charisse.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Not all the celebrity onlookers are here for the voting. Some just came by to help with the hoping, including Love Boat captain Gavin McLeod.
I can't be involved in the final adjudicating. I just can't do that.
Why?
I'm a performer, and I've put myself out there so many times, and it's just something sensitive about it. I can't tell any performer no.
Even though there will be some losers today, it's the winners everybody's looking for. Again, the list of candidates grows shorter. Again, at the end of the day, scores are tallied and possibilities discussed in detail. Then, at last, 8 lucky women hear the beautiful sound of opportunity knocking as Aaron Spelling calls out their names.
Ms. Nancy Hammer, Ms. Terry Hatcher, Ms. Deborah Johnson, Ms. Andrea Moen, Ms. Debbie Barton, Ms. Beth Maya.
Now I'm a mermaid!
Ms. No Middle Initial Macarena, and Ms. Tori Bennett.
When the 8th one called up, it was not fun. Not fun.
In New York, when we talked, you said, well, we'll wait and see.
That's right. That's right. I want to count my chickens before they hatch, so they hatched.
It's been a long journey from a cold New York sidewalk to a warm reception by some of the biggest names in television. Now, Beth and the other mermaids have to get packed for an even longer trip aboard the Love Boat.
Hey folks, you found GSTV. That stands for Good Stuff Television. We celebrate entertainment from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. And the cool thing about GSTV, you never know what's coming up next. Growing up, going on a cruise was something that I thought only wealthy people could afford to do. Maybe that was because my folks really weren't all that much into vacations in general. Anyway, because of that belief, I pretty much thought that Vicky Stubing, as played by Jill Whalen on ABC's classic TV show The Love Boat, was the luckiest girl in the world. Making her debut during one episode of Season 2, by the time Season 3 was in full swing, Vicky was pretty much a regular on the show. Yep, for a young teenager such as myself, I thought this girl really had it all. She got to travel the world while meeting really interesting people week after week on the show. And her dad was pretty cool too. He was the captain of the Pacific Princess. Although I could have sworn that in another life that guy had been a news writer for the evening news or something like that. Oh well, I must have been wrong. Anyway, you get it right. Every Saturday night, my sister Valerie and I would eagerly anticipate watching The Love Boat and hope that if we were lucky, our folks would let us stay up a bit later and watch Fantasy Island as well. And around the same time as Jill's debut on The Love Boat, she also showed up in this little movie. Holy cow, that was a funny scene, and truth be told, Jill was the best part of it. Of course, my favorite part in the movie has to go to that jive-talking grandma played by Beaver Cleaver's mother, Barbara Billingsley. But that, my friends, is a story for another day. Getting back to Jill and The Love Boat, I kind of feel like we grew up together. Yep, lots of laughs and a tear or two. Love Boat was like that. Mostly funny, but every now and again, it would get you right there, tugging at your heart. I guess that's one of the reasons I like the show so much. So in all, Love Boat ran for 9 seasons on ABC, and during that time, Jill would show up on various TV specials as well. A favorite of mine was when she was on the Battle of Network Stars. I loved all of the events on that show. I really did, but for whatever reason, that darn dunk take event would have me glued to the television. After Love Boat ended, I've got to say that I kind of lost track of Jill. I didn't mean to, I really didn't. But truthfully, I don't believe I was the only one. So what happened? Where did this talented lady go? Well, the answer to that is she really didn't go anywhere for the next decade or so. Jill would make all sorts of appearances on a variety of different shows, along with a Love Boat movie as well as the Robert Urich spin-off Love Boat The Next Wave. But then, right around 1998, based on the research that I was able to do, it does appear that Jill decided to step away from acting, at least in front of the camera. She became a producer in Los Angeles and even spent some time teaching acting to kids. And along with her career change, Jill and her husband also started a family. With all that going on, it seems fair to say that she was just living her best life, and at least for a while, that appeared to be enough. At least until 2012 rolled around. And then for whatever reason, Jill was back and busier than ever. The first thing that I noticed was when Jill made an appearance along with longtime friend Charo on the ABC television program Celebrity Wife Swap. And she also started a podcast with Brian Phelps, one half of the famous LA radio duo Mark and Brian. And roughly around the same time, Jill also appeared in the family-oriented holiday film A Christmas Tree Miracle, which, by the way, you can watch in its entirety here on YouTube. Not a bad little movie, if you ask me. A couple of years later, Jill made a cameo appearance on The Bold and the Beautiful, appearing as a group counselor for a couple of episodes. This wasn't the first time that Jill had appeared on a soap opera, having made a guest appearance on The Young and the Restless way back in 1997. And then, in 2015, Jill was named Celebrations Ambassador for Princess Cruises. Really, if you think about it, this is a match made in heaven. Over the years, Jill has found ways to stay connected with the cruise line that made her famous, and this official role is pitch perfect. Speaking of celebrations,
In 2017, Jill tied the knot for a third time, marrying former Denver Broncos QB Jeff Knapple. Things really seem to be clicking for Jill these days. In fact, nowhere was this more evident than on the Today Show's interview with the cast of The Love Boat to celebrate that show's 40th anniversary. I know. How can that show be 40 years old? But it is. Trust me, I've done the math. Anyways, you can see this interview is also available right here on YouTube. It's a fun one to watch, and Jill, as always, is a hoot. For those wanting to keep track of Jill on social media, she has a strong presence on both Facebook and Twitter. In fact, it was on Facebook where I learned about another one of Jill's projects, a new movie called Take It From the Top, directed by Isaac the bartender himself, Mr. Ted Lang. The show appears to be inspired very loosely by Jill's life, but from what I can tell, it also appears to deviate substantially from real-life events to take the film into some fairly comedic places. I haven't seen it yet, but I sure would like to. It really looks like fun. One final thing that you can watch on YouTube is a great video that's been posted by Princess Cruises on their official channel. The video is all about family and features Jill's two sons. All in all, it's a very cool video in which Jill also celebrates her 50th birthday. Check it out when you get a moment, and you'll see exactly why it makes a ton of sense for Princess Cruises to align themselves with this talented lady. Okay, let's end this video here. Charo and Vicky. I loved those episodes of Love Boat where Charo would show up as April Lopez. There were a bunch of them. Did you know that Charo is also an amazing flamenco guitarist? Yep, she's one of the best out there. Just like Jill, there's way more than meets the eye with that lady. Alright, now it's your turn. Please share your memories in the comments section. And while you're at it, I would appreciate a thumbs up. Maybe even subscribe to my YouTube channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.
Hey folks, if you're enjoying this live stream, be like the Fonz and give it a thumbs up. Hey.
First off, Steve, what the heck? I love this video, dude. This was the best.
Yeah, it's my latest video. I think it's my 31st video, so finally cracked 30, but it was just some fun facts I noticed about my bodyguard that I wasn't sure everybody was aware of. A lot of people know Matt Dillon was in it, but it also was kind of a groundbreaking, I guess, the place where other artists, actors got their start, including Joan Cusack, who you can see there in the upper left. But also, and I didn't realize this until later in life, Jennifer Bills down there in the center of that picture. She's uncredited in the movie, but this is her first on-screen appearance before, just a few years before Flashdance. And then also Adam Baldwin there.
Right.
Yeah.
So awesome video. I loved every second of it. And I did not know that about Jennifer Bills, by the way. So everybody, if you haven't seen it, head on over to Steve's channel. It's just Stephen Sundstrom. Check it out. And I think I saw Tom say something about this being better than the debate. Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. Anyway, one of my favorite movies, and I swear, Steve, I'm not sure. Did we see it together? I think
probably did at the old Queen Theater back in right around 1980 when it came out.
What do you know, Scott? Did you see this movie?
I did not. I have never seen it, so I will. We'll have to check it out, given the provenance here with everybody in it.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a little low budget film that was, what would you say, 80 or 79?
1980. Yeah, filmed in the Chicago area, and Matt Dillon's in it as a thug at this high school, and man, he's terrifying. He had me afraid of going to from elementary to junior high because the way he torments these kids and extorts them for their lunch money.
You know what?
He's fantastic in the role.
Yeah, he's never shaken that image with me because of this movie. Every time I see him, I think, there's that punk from My Bodyguard.
Yeah.
Even now. All right, I see Nisi 77's here. Cindy D, welcome. Danny Staten, always on the quest for Bigfoot. If he's not reading comic books, is in the house. Good luck, my friend. I think I commented on one of your videos, but be careful when you're crossing the road there. That can get awful dangerous, especially when you're wandering down embankments. And, it probably is more dangerous than running into Sasquatch himself. So be careful.
Hey,
Hi, everybody. It's the M&M's Candies Gang.
Who takes peanuts and chocolate? Who takes peanuts and chocolate and mixes them just right? And mixes them just right. Gives them rainbow colors so they're always nice and bright. The M&M's Gang. The M&M's Gang. The M&M's Gang. And we add a lot of love to make it all taste good.
M&M's. The milk chocolate melts in your mouth, not in your hand.
All right!
Veteran actor Gavin MacLeod, whose health had been declining over the past few months, passed away at the age of 90 during the early hours of Saturday, May 29th, 2021. It's hard to believe that the TV show that Gavin was most well known for debuted on television over 40 years ago. The show that I'm talking about, of course, was The Love Boat. It aired on ABC from 1977 until 1986 and detailed the romantic and comedic adventures of the passengers and crew aboard the cruise ship Pacific Princess. The series was famous for having oodles of celebrity guest stars, including Barbie Benton, Vincent Price, Debbie Reynolds, Michael J. Fox, Tom Hanks, Janet Jackson, and of course, Charo. Love Boat, along with Fantasy Island, was part of my steady diet growing up on Saturday evenings. The show was so good, not just because of the great guest stars, but because of the show's wonderful cast. I had my favorites, Lauren Tweeze and Fred Grandy as Gopher, but it is entirely possible that my favorite character of all was good old Captain Steubing. For those that only know MacLeod for his role as Captain Steubing, the reality is that he had been a fixture on American television for years, first in the Ernest Borgnine comedy McHale's Navy, and then later on as Murray Slaughter on The Mary Tyler Moore Show. That said, whenever MacLeod visited with fans or was interviewed by a journalist, there was just one program that they wanted to talk about. Yep, The Love Boat. And Gavin, quite frankly, loved talking about the show as well. One of the more recent opportunities was when he officiated the world's largest renewal of vows at sea. One of those Guinness Book of World Records kind of things, and because of that, during an interview with Fox News, they asked him to share his thoughts on life and love. They wanted to know his secret. Being a very spiritual man, Gavin said that he realized that love is between three people. It's you, your partner, and God. He went on to say that love triangle is the most solidifying thing in the world. It's a love that never fails. I have to believe that Gavin's strong faith helped him and his family during his final hours. I truly hope it provided them all with a sense of peace. Just a couple of months ago, Gavin, along with the rest of the original Love Boat crew, reunited once again to promote the not-for-profit Actors Fund and its services. How cool is it that Gavin was able to connect with his old colleagues from the Love Boat one more time prior to his passing? That video is right here on YouTube. Just search for Love Boat Cast Reunion and you'll find it. Here's a tweet from Gavin's self-proclaimed partner in crime, Ed Asner, who, commenting directly to Gavin, says that he'll see him in a bit, and then warns Betty White that it's just the two of them now. I love that Ed felt comfortable enough to inject a little bit of levity into the moment, because Gavin's life was a life well lived, and it is one we're celebrating with both tears and a chuckle or two. I've got to believe that Gavin would want it that way. Alright, now it's your turn. Please share your memories of Gavin MacLeod in the comments section, and while you're at it, I would appreciate a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and what the heck, why not subscribe to my channel? I talk about music, movies, and mostly television from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.
Someone is trying to embarrass me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dick Clark.
Have I got music for you? 13 of your favorite albums for 1 penny when you join the Columbia Record and Tape Club. It's all here in TV Guide. The most music a little money can buy. And watch this. You can make it 14 albums for the same penny. Just put the number of any extra album in this gold box, and it's yours. So look for the gold box in TV Guide, the Sunday's Family Weekly, and these magazines.
Me, Joyce DeWitt, wear panty and pantyhose in one? Not unless they're undie legs, the one with the stay put panty. Undie legs. For the gal who never stays put. They all get rid of ugly panty lines, but this one won't slip or slide around. Undie legs for the gal who never stays put. Undie legs, panty and pantyhose in one.
Nothing beats a great pair of legs. Ooh, ABC.
Friday, get ready for a hot new breed of cop.
They ain't like ordinary cops.
OC, Nick, and Sam. You'll never believe they're the good guys.
Oh, they're good.
Because they're such bad cats.
I'm the big cheese on my team. The other guy's playing 65% polyester. Me, 100% cashmere, man. Every club wanted me, but I signed with the Chipmunks. Got an 8-year contract. All the Cheetos I want. But big cheese. They're made with real cheese. Tastes delicious. Now fans ask me to autograph my Cheeto snacks. Ever try writing to Skippy, Good Luck, Whip Willis on a cheese puff?
Cheetos brand cheese-flavored snacks. The big cheese.
McDonald's.
For you parents who don't speak Klingonese, he's saying, people of Earth, unite and bring your kids to McDonald's for a Star Trek meal. That's a regular hamburger, fries, soft drink, a McDonald and cookie sampler, and a Star Trek prize. Oh, yes, 5 different boxes based on Star Trek the Motion Picture. Action scenes, jokes, games. He says, take it from a father who knows. His kids love him. McDonald's Star Trek meal available for your kids now.
Your favorite comedy team moves to Monday.
I'm here, I'm back, it's me!
Laverne and Shirley hit the sidewalks of New York for a 1-hour special of fun, games, and surprises.
Marry, him.
There, he was the world's fastest gun and expert samurai, the master gunfighter. And welcome the 80s on New Year's Rockin' Eve with the Village People, Blondie, Chic, the Oak Ridge Mountain Boys, and Barry Manilow.
This video has truly taken on a life of its own. It started out as one thing, morphed into a completely different topic, and then took a detour and somehow found its way back to Mark Harmon and a specific night that he will never forget. So initially, this video was just going to be about one of my favorite movies from the 80s, Summer School. I still try to watch this film, directed by the legendary Carl Reiner, every now and again, not because it's great, although it really is, but rather because it's just so darn easy to watch. And a lot of that has to do with the really talented group of actors that were assembled together to craft this lightweight flick. This thing has it all, a bit of romance, a ton of comedy, and a few lessons to be learned along the way. All in all, it's highly recommended. As is Mark Harmon's turn in the NBC dramedy St. Elsewhere. Another 80s staple that's worthy of its own video, so we won't be talking much about that one today, other than to say that there was a time when I thought that Howie Mandel was perhaps the funniest guy on this planet. Anyone remember Another Fine Mess with Ted Danson? And we're also not going to talk about the honor bestowed upon Harmon by People magazine way back in 1986. Oh wait, crap, I just talked about it. Oh well, that's it. Pivotal to our story today, however, is this lovely lady, Ms. Pam Dauber, star of Mork and Mindy and the true love of Mark Harmon's life. I've got to say, that Robin Williams guy was so darn funny. I'll save my conversation about his friendship with Pam Dauber for another day. As you can see, my mind went a million places while I was putting this thing together. However, it is super important to our story to recognize this enduring union. Mark and Pam throughout the years really have been a team, and one night in 1996, their ability to work together to sense what each one of them should do next was of utmost importance. Because you see, that evening as the sun set, Pam noticed a burning car outside of the window of their home in Brentwood, California. She immediately called Mark over, and without hesitation, Mark raced outside, where he could see that one person had been able to get out of the vehicle, but another still appeared to be trapped inside. As Mark raced to the vehicle, Pam called 911 and explained the situation before racing outside herself. I have to believe that a million different thoughts were going through their minds at that moment. Pam, I'm certain, was not only worried for the person inside of the vehicle, but for her husband as well, who broke one of the car windows and pulled the trap boy to safety by grabbing his belt. Now, I'm not saying that Mark's stint in the late 70s on the short-lived TV show 240 Robert had anything to do with his heroics that evening, but his actions certainly echoed the exploits of the 240 Robert team, who for 16 episodes routinely risked their own lives to save others. In 2013, CBS Sunday Morning talked with Harmon about that fateful evening, and from that conversation it was clearly evident that it was a moment in time that both Mark and Pam would never, ever forget. It's a great interview and an easy one to find on YouTube. If you're a fan of Mr. Harmon, I'd recommend checking it out. Because on that same video, CBS also interviews the young man that Harmon pulled out of the car that fateful evening. It's an eye-opening conversation and truly inspiring how this individual has really ran with his second chance at life. And I do love this quote. When asked if Harmon was some sort of guardian angel, the young man's response was, "Mark Harmon isn't an angel. He is so much more." Since I've mentioned many of the things that Mark has been involved with over the years, and trust me folks, there's a ton more, it feels wrong to completely ignore that for the last 17 years, Harmon has starred as NCIS agent Leroy Jethro Gibbs, a role which has earned him 6 nominations at the People's Choice Awards, including a win for Favorite TV Crime Drama Actor in 2017. Alright, let's finish this thing up right where we started with one more image from 1987's Summer School. This is definitely one of those movies that's the equivalent of junk food, but I do love me some McDonald's from time to time, just like I love this film. Anyway, please share your memories in the comments section, and while you're at it, I'd love a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And I would be absolutely honored if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Welcome, freshmen, to Montclair High School. This year, this class is special because this year, this class is challenged.
Oh, great.
How come it's so big? Are you gonna be late? Why does everyone look older than you? Do you have a pass?
I'm looking for my homeroom.
I need your pass.
I'm new here.
I need your pass. Why can't you go in the right direction? How come you just don't know what to do?
Welcome to Agronomy 2.
Whoops. By the end of the day, you're finding your place, learning the ropes, learning the pace. Time to get away to a familiar place. It's a good time for the great day.
50 pages tonight? Oh, great.
It's a good time for the great day.
Tomorrow will be better.
You mean we gotta go back? I'm McDonald.
Hey folks, you found GSTV. That stands for Good Stuff Television. We celebrate entertainment from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. And the cool thing about GSTV, you never know what's coming up next.
Zooming around through the streets of this town in a hurricane. Spinning around in the love I found in a hurricane. All at once in a flash of light. All at once I was feeling
1976. I remember it like it was yesterday. Really, folks, I can't believe that more than 4 decades have passed. It was a huge year for the United States. The bicentennial, 200 years of independence. The entire nation partied, particularly as we got closer and closer to the 4th of July, Independence Day. I remember my dad taking us to see fireworks and then hitting the only McDonald's within 30 miles of us to get Big Macs for the very first time. We didn't go to McDonald's often back then, and although Big Macs were under $1, my dad let us know that trips to fast food restaurants were saved for very special occasions, like a bicentennial. Although money was pretty tight back then, every couple of weeks my dad would give me an allowance. The amount would vary. Sometimes it would be a couple of bucks, but usually it was less than $1. Still, it was enough to hit the little market down the street and grab a Hershey's candy bar and a bottle of Coke. The store was run by a guy named Irv Cleverly, and the market was very cleverly named Irv's Market. Candy bars back then were only 15 cents, and if we would hurry and drink the bottle of Coke outside of the store and then go back in and give the bottle back to Irv, he'd only charge us a nickel for the soda. So even $1 could go pretty far back in the day. In 1976, the average American home cost about $45,000. I remember my mom talking on the phone to neighbors about what homes were selling for, and she didn't understand how anyone could handle a $300 a month house payment. Like I said, things were fairly tight in our home. In 1976, while Gerald Ford was the President of the United States, I was way more familiar with the Vice President, because my dad liked to say, "Who do you think I am, Nelson Rockefeller?" as he went around the house turning off lights after us. Truthfully, though, the lights weren't causing the electrical bill to go up. It had to be the TV set. Back then, I was spending as much time as my parents would allow in front of the TV. ABC was my network of choice. They had Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley. And oh, I remember thinking that the Fonz was so cool. If only I could be like the Fonz. Or Vinnie Barbarino. And of course, there was the $6 Million Man. I loved the episode from the 1976 TV season where Steve encountered Bigfoot for the first time. To this day, I get chills thinking about that epic battle in slow motion with all of those bionic sounds. And then there were the Angels. Pharaoh was still around in 1976. 1 year later, in 77, Cheryl Ladd would take her place as her younger sister, Chris Monroe. But during the nation's birthday, we still had Farrah. One of the only shows that I would turn the dial for was MASH. It was on CBS. I ventured over there occasionally, but like I said, ABC was my bread and butter network. There were so many awesome shows. I haven't even mentioned great shows like Three's Company and Starsky and Hutch. And in movie theaters, Stallone's first Rocky motion picture was both a critical and box office success. Even today, when I think about this film, I immediately hear Bill Conti's amazing music in my head. Another movie that I really loved was Logan's Run. Back then, living until you were 30 didn't seem all that horrible. 30 was so old. Now I understand why Logan chose to run. The movie was good, but I do believe, as is often the case, the original novel by William F. Nolan and George Clayton Johnson was so much better. And on the radio, this song seemed to be getting far too much airplay. At first I loved it, and then I tolerated it, and then I'd switch stations whenever it came on. Fortunately, enough years have passed now that I enjoy listening to this energetic duet once again. Howard Hughes died in 1976. I remember hearing about it a little bit, but what I really remember is this guy, Melvin Dumar, a fellow Utahn who claimed to have a copy of a last will and testament that gave him a whole heck of a lot of cash. I don't remember how things eventually shook out, although I suspect that things didn't go well for Melvin. Oh well, at least he was one of the main characters in the movie Melvin and Howard. Hopefully Hollywood hooked him up with a little bit of cash for his troubles. As the year wound down, I began thinking about what I should put on my holiday wish list. And this is what I landed on. This action figure was so cool. You could look through Steve Austin's eye. You could peel back skin to see advanced circuitry. You could even activate Steve's bionic arm. Other cool things about 1976 worth noting.
It was the year that Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs sold their first Apple computer. I believe they assembled the thing in a garage. And Cy Sperling, well, he started the Hair Club for Men, giving hope to follically challenged fellers such as myself around the world. Truthfully, I never pulled the trigger on a wig. I just couldn't do it. But I'm glad that there are options out there for those folks who want them. Let's end here. Yep, that's a 1976 Oldsmobile Cutlass. We had one of those. I still remember the day my dad drove home in it after buying it without even talking to my mom. Let's just say she wasn't pleased. Ah, the lessons you learn in this old life. The lesson I learned that day was that you keep learning lessons no matter how old you get to be. Alright, now it's your turn. Please share your thoughts and your memories in the comments section. And while you're at it, I would appreciate a thumbs up, and I would be absolutely honored if you considered subscribing to my YouTube channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Hey folks, you found GSTV. That stands for Good Stuff Television. We celebrate entertainment from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. And the cool thing about GSTV, you never know what's coming up next.
It's time to celebrate, so let's not hesitate. Put a little love in your heart.
Let's think of the children and lend them a helping hand. Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love, put a little love.
Want the world to know they need your help, and so put a little love in your heart.
We hope when you decide kindness will be your guide.
Put a little love in your heart,
And the world will be a better place.
and the world
Will be a better place for you and me,
just wait
and see. Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love, Come on, everybody, we're really going to make the world a better place.
That's right.
Come on, get
In fact, this year, for the first time, we're going to be seen in the Soviet Union and the People's Republic of China.
That's right. Hey, this really is a small world. Wouldn't you say that? Come on. We're going to celebrate.
no time to hesitate. Put a little love in your heart. Just think of the children.
Let them have it.
Love in your heart.
And the world
Will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you
for you
and me.
Thank you.
Keep going.
Okay, so where do I start with this one? Seriously, folks, I'm going to have to rein myself in a bit, because for about 10 years, from the mid-70s on, it felt like Christy Mcnichol was everywhere. But since this video is a whatever happened to video, I'm only going to mention a handful of my favorite memories before I provide an update regarding what she's been up to more recently. Otherwise, this thing could last hours. I still remember this Dynamite magazine, and even though it says Meet Christy Mcnichol, I'm pretty sure I already knew who she was. Even before she became a breakout star on the TV show Family, more on that in a moment, she had been in commercials and guest starred on a number of shows like Starsky and Hutch and The Bionic Woman. However, like I said, it was on Family where Christy really became a breakout star. She was the youngest member of the Lawrence family, a tomboy nicknamed Buddy. And I don't know, maybe it's just my old foggy memory, but it seemed like many of the shows during its 5-season run centered on Buddy. A couple of other things worth mentioning are that, yes, that's a pre-Family Ties Meredith Baxter Bernie there, and the actor who played the father on this show is James Broderick. Yep, that's right, father of Ferris. And here she is, cute as a button with Scott Baio, guest starring on The Love Boat. Seriously, folks, back then, being on The Love Boat was a rite of passage for every up-and-coming young star, as well as many of the really big stars from Hollywood's golden age. And I've also got to mention Little Darlings. If I remember correctly, this was Christy's first big starring role in a major motion picture. I haven't seen this movie in years. I kind of wonder if it holds up. Still, the cast is great. Along with Christy, you've got Tatum O'Neal, Armand Asante, and a very young Matt Dillon. And even though it was a major flop, I've got to at least, for a moment, talk about the pirate movie. Sure, there are a lot of things that you can nitpick about this film, but the soundtrack is incredible, and it was here that it dawned on me that Christy really had a wonderful voice, and it was clear that she loved singing. Why this is so surprising, I do not know. Because prior to this movie, Christy had released an album with her brother Jimmy and done some singing in the movie The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia. Somewhere after the pirate movie and before Just the Way You Are, I remember hearing about difficulties that the studio was having getting that movie completed. I also vaguely recall hearing that there were issues with getting Christy on the set. Still, when the movie was released in 1984, I remember seeing it in the theater with a group of friends, and we all agreed that Ms. Mcnichol was the very best part of the movie. And then you know what? She kind of disappeared for a few years. Rumor has it that she just wanted to live a normal life and went back to school to learn how to cut and style hair. And then in 1988, Christy resurfaced on Empty Nest, an NBC situation comedy which was a spin-off from one of my favorite shows, The Golden Girls. This TV series was a ton of fun, mainly because of the standout cast. Isn't that always the case? Which included Richard Mulligan, Dinah Manoff, and David Leisure. A year later, Christy bared her soul to People magazine and talked about her bipolar disorder and the severe depression that is brought about by a chemical imbalance in her body. Tough stuff, and Christy had been dealing with it for years. At the time the article was written, Christy had been working as an in-demand actress for over 20 years, and yet she was just 27. You know, when I think about other child actors that rode a similar wave of fame during the 70s and 80s, not many of them ended up in as good of a place as Christy. And that's even with the health issues that she was so bravely fighting. In 1992, Christy made the tough decision to leave Empty Nest. And when she returned for the series finale in 1995, that final bow she took on stage with the rest of her castmates, well, it really was a final bow. So what has she been doing since then? Well, the answer is really a whole heck of a lot. During the 90s, Christy hosted her own tennis tournament, which benefited the Help Group, a charity that serves children with special needs related to autism, learning disabilities, ADHD, developmental delays, abuse, and other emotional problems. Christy has also volunteered time assisting with marine wildlife conservation groups. From what I understand, she has even participated in rescues from time to time. End of the day, for a very long time, it seems to me that Christy had wanted one thing, really the one thing that fame and fortune in Hollywood couldn't give her: a normal life. Years earlier, when she'd gone to school to learn how to become a hairstylist, I think she knew that she was going to have to take really drastic action if she ever wanted any sort of normalcy in her life. And for that reason, in June of 2001, Christy announced through her publicist that she was officially retiring from acting. Now, to be clear, that retirement has been her way of saying that she wasn't going to be in front of the cameras anymore. It didn't mean that she didn't love the art and craft of acting. In fact, I've heard that Christy has spent some of her free time with up-and-coming actors, helping them to hone their talents. And in 2012, Christy came out of the closet and expressed a desire to be more open, honest, and authentic about the person that she truly was. At the time, she also said that she was coming out to try and help other kids who might be bullied because of who they were. I have just got to say, what a truly noble thing to do. And even more recently, Christy lent her support to the Los Angeles Valley College's music department and encouraged other lovers of music to do the same through the school's foundation, which provides student scholarships and supports various campus music programs. That type of support shouldn't come as a surprise to any of us who watched her sing her heart out decades earlier. In fact, Christy became familiar with the school's music department because she wanted an outlet for her passion for singing and enrolled in a class where she could participate in the college's choir. How cool is that? So, this Whatever Happened To video has my favorite kind of ending. The kind where I get to say that whoever is being spotlighted has managed to avoid most, if not all, of the pitfalls that far too frequently do folks in when it comes to the world of showbiz. Christy truly is living her best life. I'm sure it still has trials. I'm sure it still has its fair share of ups and downs. But you know what? It's a normal life. And that, when it comes right down to it, is a pretty darn good thing. If you're trying to find Christy out there on Twitter or Facebook, well, you're not going to have a whole heck of a lot of luck. But you know what? I think that's all right. I think that's part of her effort, her attempt to just step away from it all and live that normal life that I've talked about. All right, I can't help myself. We're going back to the pirate movie. If you want to watch that movie and hear Christy sing, the whole thing right now is on YouTube. At some point, they're probably going to take it down. But my guess is that there will always be somewhere online where you can watch this often maligned musical gem. So, do you remember Christy Mcnichol? And if so, what was your favorite movie or TV show that she was in? Let me know in the comments section, and if you liked this video, I'd love a thumbs up. I'd also be honored if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.
Who's that old man? You can't forget that face. Wrinkles, crooked smile. The name you may not place. Mr. Hard of Hearing, Gus, or just a sleepy guy. Grandpa or great uncle, he's always stopping by. Your set needs no adjustment. Hey, it's him again, Bert Mustin. He's one fella you can trust him. Now you know his name. It's Bert Mustin.
One of the hottest rumors of the 70s was that Eddie Haskell from our show grew up to be Alice Cooper. Come to think of it, Ken Osmond, who played Eddie Haskell, never actually denied that rumor to me. What about to you?
Yeah, now that you mention it. Hey, how can you guys compare that face to this face? You guys are dopier than I thought.
Eddie, what are you doing here?
Well, I didn't want you two making total fools of yourself on MTV, so I thought I'd swing by and add a little Haskell charm to help bail you guys out.
You know, Eddie, we loved you in your new video, The Man Behind the Mask.
Yeah, that black mascara bit. Looking great. Look, you guys know that I am not Alice Cooper. I have never been Alice Cooper. I never will be Alice Cooper. Now, will you tell the folks out there I am not Alice Cooper?
We'll be right back, Alice Cooper.
Along with Kiss, Journey, and the Tubes, Cheap Trick, they're in my top 5 list of favorite bands. I've pretty much loved them since I first heard them way back late 70s. I believe the first song I ever heard was Dream Police. Of course, after that, I had to go back and discover other gems like Surrender and I Want You to Want Me. There's just something about these guys, especially the original lineup that included drummer Bunny Carlos. I've always loved the tongue-in-cheek humor of the band, that geeky facade that disguised the masterful hard-rocking riffs of Rick Nielsen, and of course, Robin Zander's voice that could literally soar to the heavens. So when word broke in the summer of 2017 that Cheap Trick was hard at work on a holiday album, well, I was pretty excited about the possibilities. Cheap Trick had always had a soft spot for Christmas, and it could be manifested in the fun holiday cards that they would create for their fans every year. This one is my favorite. Of course, Rick would be Charlie Brown. It just makes sense. And Robin, Snoopy. That's right, it's perfect. And along with their cards, Cheap Trick had released Christmas music before. Their reworking of I Want You to Want Me into I Want You for Christmas is one of my favorite songs to play during the holiday season. They've also reworked other songs, including Come On, Come On, which became Come On Christmas. You can find that one on their box set from the late 90s. So this review is about a year late. Why? Well, I've got to be truthful. When I first heard it, I didn't love it. First and foremost, I was bummed that I Want You for Christmas wasn't on the album. It remains available on the 25th anniversary, a very special Christmas album, but it's not on this album, the Cheap Trick Christmas album. Not sure why. It should be here. It's probably my biggest gripe. So let's put that one aside and take a look at the songs that are actually on the album. My favorite track is probably the first track. It's called Merry Christmas Darlings. It's exactly the kind of song that you would expect from Cheap Trick. In your face, rock and roll with their signature sound. It's one of 3 original tracks on the album, definitely the best. The other 2 tracks which close out the album, Our Father of Life and Christmas Christmas, are really good as well. No, they're really great. In between you get a number of covers. My favorites are the cover of the Kinks' classic song Father Christmas, as well as an absolutely beautiful rendition of Silent Night. Truthfully, there's not a bad track on the album. I just wish there were 2 more. Come on, guys. Maybe a new version next year with I Want You for Christmas and Come On Christmas as bonus tracks. Another great song is their most recent song, The Summer Looks Good on You. Sure, it's the wrong time of year for it, but if you're getting a little sick of cold weather and long for the warm days of summer, well, this is the perfect song to play. So that's it. One more peek at another Cheap Trick Christmas card. Fun stuff, and truthfully, that's what Cheap Trick has always been about. So, do you have a favorite Christmas album? Please share it with me in the comments section. While you're at it, I'd love a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I would be absolutely honored if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.
Hey folks, if you're enjoying this live stream, be like the Fonz and give it a thumbs up.
Hey folks, you've found GSTV. That stands for Good Stuff Television. We celebrate entertainment from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. And the cool thing about GSTV, you never know what's coming up next.
Only from Atari. Made especially for systems from Atari. The video game that lets you help E.T. get home. Just in time for Christmas. Happy holidays.
Saw you in a dream, hit me like a bright light. flashing on the screen, visions of my whole